Hartford Baptist Church, and welcome to episode 8 of our study through James. We're in chapter 2 now, and today should be a pretty short episode. James is pretty straightforward and blunt, and he's going to be that way a lot through the rest of this letter. But we're going to go from, we're going to do the first 7 verses of chapter 2, and let's jump on in right there. My brothers, of course, we've seen in that, this could be my brothers and sisters. My brothers and sisters, show no partiality as you hold the faith in our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory. For if a man wearing a gold ring and fine clothing comes into your assembly, and a poor man in shabby clothing also comes in, and if you pay attention to the one who wears the fine clothing and say, you sit here in a good place, while you say to the poor man, you stand over there, or sit down at my feet, have you not then made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? Listen, my beloved brothers, has not God chosen those who are poor in the world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom, which he has promised to those who love him? But you have dishonored the poor man. Are not the rich ones the ones who oppress you and the ones who drag you into court? Are they not the ones who blaspheme the honorable name by which you were called? All right. So here this is still, and James, I think, wrote this as a warning. You know, his congregation had just scattered. I don't even think this could have had time to become a problem yet, but it's certainly a problem even in church today, in many of our churches. I won't say all. But the sin of partiality amongst believers. Now, the scenario James is giving us is a rich person enters the assembly, congregation, perhaps a believer. Now we got a rich believer and a poor man comes in, horribly poor, shabby clothing. So we got two polar opposites of society, one wealthy, one extremely poor. And the church, in this scenario, gives the best seat in the house to the rich man, inviting him to sit over here, and the poor man, they basically say, go stand in the back, or don't even sit in a seat, sit down at our feet. It'd be like having somebody don't sit on the pew, sit on the floor in front of the pew. That's how this scenario is playing out, how they're treating the poor. And while we probably don't today go to that extreme to tell those in shabby clothing to go stand in the back or sit on the floor, but we probably do things that make them feel like we did. We may not talk to them as much or say hi with the same smile on our face. And when those rich people, when those popular people come in, you know, we got the big smiles over there welcoming them and letting them know how much we appreciate them being there. And we roll out the red carpet. And even outside the church, we see this with celebrities and athletes. Everybody wants to be around them. Everybody wants some of that social status to rub off on them. The poor, we don't so much want to be around. And that's what James is calling out, that hypocrisy. He says, hey, are not the poor chosen to be heirs of the kingdom, just like everyone else who loves God? There is no distinction between the poor and the rich in God's eyes. And in verse 6, of course, he acknowledges you've dishonored the poor man, which you certainly have if we've done that, if we've treated them that way. Treated them like they are lesser humans. All are image bearers of God, and to treat them differently is sinful. But then he goes on to say, are the rich ones, and he's not necessarily talking about the rich one in this congregation or the rich ones in the church. He's now speaking of the rich ones. He's speaking of the class. So he's generalizing now. The rich as a class. Are not the rich ones those who oppress you, the ones who drag you into court? Are they not the ones who blaspheme the honorable name by which you were called? That's God's name. So let's think about this. Do the rich today oppress the poor? Many of them, not all of them, but overall, the rich remain rich, and it seems the poor remain poor. Of course, in America, we're one of the few nations where the poor can actually work their way up. Most nations, if you're poor, you're going to die poor. In fact, I can't think of any other nation that has near the system where you can, work hard in school, get a good job, and go from poverty to the upper class. America is really the only nation ever to have that kind of system. I know the Roman Empire had very few instances that would happen in. And most of that was due to the military feats and such, where you'd inherit land if you were a great military commander, fought well. But even then, you were recognized as, you weren't born this way. So you still weren't at the same, you were new money. You weren't the old money. But we're still that way somewhat in America, but not as bad as the world. But we're one of the few nations where you can work your way up. But overall, the rich, especially worldwide, do still oppress the poor and take advantage. And so what James is saying here is, why do you get so worked up over rich people? Today, why do we get so worked up over rich people and celebrities? Do you really think a celebrity cares about us? I'm generalizing. I'm not speaking of every individual one. But typical actor, do you think they care about what happens in middle America? No. But we care what happens to them much more than we do the poor people. And that is the hypocrisy James is calling out, that we have a unnatural desire to elevate those of social status, who have high social status, that we almost idolize them. In fact, much times we do idolize them, when they could care less about us at times. And that's what James is pointing out. And of course, they blaspheme the honorable name of God. We certainly see that, especially, you can be on social media and you will just see celebrities and powerful politicians who just attack, maybe not attack the name of God directly, but will attack his teachings and attack what's in the Bible, attack what he has called good and the things he has called evil. They like to reverse those. You're seeing that all the time in society. And so certainly that would be blaspheming what he stands for. And we're gonna stop there today before we continue on in chapter 2. Just kind of thought of the day. How do you treat people at work and school? Um, do you feel you can only hang out with certain people at school because they're the cool kids? You don't want to be seen talking to someone who's not the cool kid? Or how about work? Do you got the person who's just a little off that nobody wants to be around and talk to? How do you treat people? Do you treat people all the same? Treat them all as image bearers of God? Or have you gave in to the temptation to, give in to the social statuses of society and treat people according to their social status instead of them being a creature of God? And we will stop there, and until next time.